We love reading in our homeschool, and today I want to share with you what our favorites were for our historical read-alouds as well as our fun read-alouds for the second semester of 5th grade. Now, I do have a video for our favorites for the first semester, which I'll make sure that I link below, but let's talk about the second semester. These were our favorites as ranked by my daughter. Now, she only really told me what her absolute favorite was in each category, and so I'm going to save that for last. First is A Letter to Mrs. Roosevelt. We really enjoyed this one when we were talking about the 1930s, and my daughter loved it. It is a very quick read. It's very short, and it just talks about this girl's experience coming out of the Great Depression and how she wrote a letter to Mrs. Roosevelt and what happened from that. So we enjoyed A Letter to Mrs. Roosevelt. We also liked Ranger in Time. This was the Great Earthquake. If you have not read the Ranger in Time series, these are excellent historical fiction books. Kate Messner does a great job taking some very scary situations and making them not so scary, because Ranger helps kids or helps whoever needs help during these time periods. Now, this series has been awesome and we have loved it for the past few years, but my daughter is starting to get a little bit old for it, so I'm not sure how many Ranger in Times we will be able to read moving forward, but I love this series. And if you have a second, third, fourth, fifth grader, this is a good series for historical fiction. In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. This was a fun book and it was an easy read. It wasn't too long. And this girl who has moved from China to New York has to learn how to live a very different life in New York. And it just so happens to be the year where Jackie Robinson, it's a wonderful book about baseball and moving to a new country and learning to adjust to so many different things, and we loved it. In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. G.I. Joe and Lillie. We read this when we were talking about World War II. It was awesome. This is a biography by the son of G.I. Joe. And it does get some pretty graphic details of things that happened to G.I. Joe on D-Day. So I would recommend this for middle school to high school. 5th grade is definitely the youngest I would recommend this book, but if you have middle school, high school age kids, G.I. Joe and Lillie is phenomenal. And it just really shows the impact of war on a family, but then how they can come together and triumph. Again, we loved G.I. Joe and Lillie. This is a biography, so it was awesome to be able to talk about this being a biography and how this did actually happen. And her number one historical read aloud for the semester was A Long Way from Chicago. This is hysterical. We laughed so hard every time we were reading it, about the adventures of these kids visiting their grandma Dowdle 1 week each year. And it was just so much fun. This definitely is her hands down number one historical fiction for second semester of 5th grade. Now let's move to our fiction read alouds. First up is Mr. Popper's Penguins. I couldn't believe that we hadn't read this before. Mr. Popper's Penguins was a classic. It was a very fast read and we enjoyed it. We did not like the movie as well as we liked the book. And I think part of that was that the movie didn't follow along on the book and the book was so awesome. But this is just a great, easy read aloud and we really enjoyed it. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nem. This one was so much fun and we were able to discuss Ideas such as animal testing. Are we for it? Are we against it? How far should you go in the name of science? What things do you think are humane versus inhumane? And this brought out the ability to back up your arguments. We were able to do the moving beyond the page literature study with this, and it was a great addition, but we still love the book. Even if we would not have done the literature study, we would have loved this book. It was wonderful. Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. This was a very fun read aloud, and we liked it a lot. It did take us a little bit longer than our normal read alouds do. It is a little bit of a longer book at 288 pages, but it was definitely worth it, and it was so much fun to read. We also enjoyed the concepts of working together as a team. Is winning always the only thing that you should be concentrating on, or do you really want to work as a team? What are the pluses and minuses? Again, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Thumbs up. The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. This main character became a savant in math because she had an experience with lightning, and then she had to readjust to working with others her own age, to middle school integration. And so it was a lot about how do you fit in when you are different, and we really enjoyed the Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. And her #1 fiction read aloud for second semester, Gordon Korman, Slacker. She and I love Gordon Korman. His books pack a punch, and they always have some great underlying messages. So for this one is, if you are a slacker and you spend all of your time being a slacker, what can you do when push comes to shove and you accidentally got in a position where you are leading the most popular club in school and they are doing a lot of great things for the community? Gordon Korman hit another one out of the park for us.